We have some variety in offensive, defensive ground vehicles, but the Storm is probably one of the best additions they could have come up with. Compared to the main battle tank Nova at the end there, these are light tanks. The center one being standard Storm with size 3 laser repeater, and the one in the end being Storm AA, a Storm rocket platform. Compared to the main battle tank Nova, it's got very unique features. Plenty of its modules are hidden inside the tracks, so there are quite a few components. And we also have a weapon rack and some inventory space within this vehicle. Perhaps one of the more unique things about this tank, it feels more like a tank suit than a tank that you would try to get into. It is definitely wider than the main battle tank Nova. I believe it's one of the widest vehicles that we currently have, but it's not too much taller than Nova tank. I actually like how this tank turns around, and it's decent enough to turn around in a vehicle like C2. But there is an in general downside with the tanks in Star Citizen. None of them really feel like they have the weight of a tank, as they are very bouncy when it comes to different types of terrain, where they may actually flip themselves over. But it's likelier to happen with faster, lighter ground vehicles, like Tumbril Cyclone. Personally, I like the Storm AA a lot more than I do like the standard Storm, as there just isn't enough firepower to make it an effective weapon. But the amount of rockets you can set at the ready and the amount of rockets this vehicle has to offer is definitely noteworthy. There are 64 size 1 rockets, and there are 16 size 2 rockets. This means the vehicle is a pretty strong, rocket platform, and it can shoot 8 rockets at a time. Now it's not going to bring down something like C2 or Corsair, but it can be very effective against smaller, lighter vehicles. I also believe it can be somewhat useful against ground vehicles which are far away. If I do remember correctly, size 1s needed around 750 meters to lock on, and size 2s needed around 1200. Ground targets are not ideal, but still, if you should be able to land them, they will hurt quite a bit. There are quite a few key significant differences between this and Nova. This is faster, more maneuverable, and is always single crew. While Nova has that option being a single crew tank, it is very slow, sluggish, bulky, but it does have a powerful weapon, and having multi-crew allows you to use the laser repeaters on top. Nova also boasts rockets next to its main battery gun, which is a size 5 and has a stupid amount of alpha damage. Nova just needs a couple of direct hits to blow up a Storm. Being an explosive weapon, there is also a lot of damage to its components and modules, perhaps even disabling the Storm, or at least crippling it if nothing else. While doing it the other way, it takes actually quite a while for the Storm to blow up Nova. Now, landing all the shots in a single location is the most effective way of destroying the Nova, but there is one massive downside. It's very unlikely that you can land all the shots in a single location. Now, if you can do that, it will take you less than 200 shots from this weapon to destroy a Nova. But if you are forced to run around it and actually fight it to your strengths, it's more likely to take up around 300 or perhaps 250. This means your weapon needs to recharge 3 times the full before you can blow up the Nova. Even though Nova is more powerful, it requires at least a crew of 4 to fully optimize this tank. For skeleton crew, I would say single person or 2 person. And instead of fully crewed Nova, I would rather have 4 Storms. One of the more disappointing aspects of this tank is that you cannot shoot behind you. The turret doesn't turn directly behind you. There is something like a 90-degree pocket behind this tank where the turret just doesn't turn. Fine, perhaps not 90, but at least 60 degrees, perhaps even a bit more. And since this vehicle is a light tank, it kind of feels like a downside. Although we will have to wait and see if it actually will be that important. For now, I like these new additions. They do feel light, but I do wish the tanks were a wee bit heavier in this game. Because every single little bit of a jump feels like the vehicle could bounce off. As for its usefulness, we will have to wait and see when we can actually do some proper ground assaults, because this seems like a fast skirmisher. Perhaps also an effective weapon against bunker defenses or other ground gadgets which we may encounter. It's definitely an interesting ground vehicle, and we will have to wait, see how it will play out. Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.